Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be diving deep into a pretty interesting topic, female sexuality.
Ooh, yeah.
It's one that I think a lot of people are curious about, but maybe doesn't get talked about as openly and honestly as it could be.
It's definitely a topic that's often shrouded in mystery and, frankly, a lot of misinformation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to help us shed some light on this topic, we're going to be looking at this really fascinating essay. It's called Female Sexual Needs and Fantasies: Understanding Desire and Reality.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, but I think it really captures the essence of what we're going to be talking about. So to kick things off, why don't you tell us a little bit about what this essay explores and what are some of the key themes that stood out to you?
Sure. So, one of the things that I found really interesting about this essay is that it emphasizes that female sexuality is way more complex than a lot of people might think.
Right. It's not just a simple on-off switch.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about the physical act itself, but it's this really intricate interplay of emotional connection, communication, variety, physical sensations, and of course, sexual confidence.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might assume that it's all about the physical,
Yeah.
but this essay really highlights the importance of all these other factors.
It really does. And one of the key takeaways for me was how crucial that emotional connection is for a lot of women.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Why is emotional connection so important when it comes to female sexuality?
Well, I think for a lot of women, feeling emotionally connected to their partner creates this sense of safety and trust. And that allows them to really relax and let go and fully experience their desire.
It's almost like that emotional connection creates the foundation for everything else.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it.
And this essay even mentions how, for many women, that feeling of being genuinely loved and close to their partner can actually enhance their sexual satisfaction.
That's so interesting, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
that emotional intimacy unlocks a whole new level of pleasure.
It's amazing how interconnected our emotions and physical experiences really are. But it's not just about feeling, warm and fuzzy. It's also about communication, right?
Absolutely. Open and honest communication is essential when it comes to any relationship, but especially when it comes to sex.
Yeah, why is that so important in this context?
Well, I think for women in particular, feeling comfortable enough to express their desires, their boundaries, their fantasies, all of that is crucial for creating a truly satisfying and fulfilling sexual experience.
It's about creating that safe space where both partners can be vulnerable and honest with each other.
Exactly. And the essay even points out that sometimes women might have this disconnect between what they think they should want and what actually turns them on.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so open communication can really help to bridge that gap.
It's about getting rid of those assumptions and just being real with each other.
Exactly. And, speaking of exploring those desires and getting real, let's dive into the often misunderstood world of female sexual fantasies.
Ooh, yes. This is the part I know everyone's secretly waiting for. So spill the tea. What kind of fantasies are we talking about here? Are they all, like the stereotypical naughty nurse thing?
Well, actually, the essay really surprised me with the sheer variety of fantasies that women reported.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's important to remember that fantasies are just that, fantasies. They're a safe space for mental exploration. They don't necessarily reflect what someone wants to act out in real life.
Right. It's not like a to-do list.
Exactly. Yeah. So with that in mind, let's talk about some of the common themes that emerged.
Okay, I'm all ears.
One that really stood out was the theme of dominance and submission.
Ooh, interesting.
Now, before you jump to any conclusions, it's not always about, leather whips and chains. It's often more about exploring the power dynamics within a relationship, the thrill of surrendering control, or maybe even taking charge.
It's more of a mental and emotional experience than a literal one.
Exactly. And that desire for control or the surrendering of it can manifest in different ways. The essay also mentions fantasies about group sex or threesomes.
Okay, getting a little spicy here.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But again, it's often not about the physical act itself, but about the emotional and psychological experience.
Like feeling desired by multiple partners or being the center of attention.
Exactly. It's about exploring those feelings and desires in a safe mental space.
Now, does the essay delve into why women have these fantasies? Like, is there any underlying psychology there?
It does touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
And for some women, it seems like these fantasies are a way of processing desires that they might feel uncomfortable acting out in real life.
It's like a way to explore those desires without any real-world consequences.
Exactly. It's a safe outlet for those thoughts and feelings.
And speaking of things that might be considered taboo, another common theme is fantasies about forbidden or unattainable partners.
Oh, yeah, like the classic forbidden romance trope.
Right. The teacher,
Yeah.
the boss, the mysterious stranger, all of that.
Exactly.
Mm.
Those fantasies often tap into that thrill of the excitement of breaking societal rules and exploring those off-limits desires.
So it's not necessarily about actually wanting to have an affair with your boss, but more about exploring those feelings of transgression and desire in a safe space.
Precisely. And let's not forget about celebrity fantasies. I mean, I think we've all had those at some point.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think those fantasies are all about projecting our desires onto someone who embodies those qualities we find irresistible, even if they're completely unattainable in real life.
It's like creating our ideal partner, even if they only exist in our imaginations.
Exactly. And these fantasies can be incredibly diverse. The essay mentions everything from romantic scenarios to more adventurous themes.
So it really runs the gamut.
It does. It's a spectrum, just like real-life desires.
This is all so fascinating. It's really making me rethink how we understand and talk about female sexuality.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's clearly so much more nuanced and complex than a lot of people realize.
Absolutely. It's about time we shed those outdated stereotypes and embrace the full spectrum of female desire, both in fantasy and reality.
Well said. Now, before we move on to what women actually look for in their partners, is there anything that's particularly stood out to you so far?
Honestly, I think what struck me most is how much emphasis is placed on the mental and emotional aspects of female sexuality. It's not just about the physical act itself, but about feeling desired, understood, and connected. And the diversity of those fantasies really challenges that notion of a one-size-fits-all approach to female desire.
I agree. It's about recognizing the individuality of each woman's experience and understanding that desire is a fluid, multifaceted thing.
Well said. Well, now I'm dying to know more about what women actually look for in their partners and relationships because as fascinating as fantasies are, they don't always translate directly to real-life desires, right?
You're absolutely right, and that's exactly what we'll be diving into next.
Okay, so we've explored this fascinating world of female fantasies, but let's bring it back down to earth for a bit and talk about what women are actually looking for in their real-life partners and relationships, because those fantasies can be exciting, but they don't always reflect what we want in our day-to-day lives.
Right, and thankfully, this essay doesn't shy away from that. It actually dives deep into the specific qualities and actions that women find truly fulfilling in a partner. And one of the big ones that it highlights right off the bat is the importance of foreplay.
Okay, foreplay. I think when some people hear that word, their minds might immediately go to, just the physical aspects, but the essay seems to frame it in a much broader sense.
You're right, it does. It's not just about going through the motions, but about creating a genuine connection, building anticipation and fostering that sense of intimacy. It's those stolen glances, the lingering touches, the whispers that send shivers down your spine. All of that contributes to a much more fulfilling experience for women.
It's about savoring the journey, not just rushing to the destination. But why is this emphasis on foreplay so important for women in particular?
Well, for many women, extended foreplay helps to build arousal gradually. It allows them to fully relax and get into the mood, both physically and mentally. And remember how we talked about desire being so influenced by emotional connection? Well, foreplay plays a huge role in fostering that connection.
It's like all those little moments of intimacy build upon each other, creating a deeper sense of trust and connection.
Exactly. And that's where a partner's attentiveness and responsiveness really come into play. It's about paying attention to your partner's body language, responding to their cues, and being willing to ask questions to make sure they're truly enjoying themselves.
So it's not just about following some predetermined script. It's about being present and engaged in the moment, communicating openly, and making sure both partners are on the same page.
Exactly. It's a dance, not a checklist. Now, beyond foreplay, the essay also highlights the importance of mutual satisfaction. It emphasizes that women generally seek partners who are just as invested in ensuring their pleasure as their own.
That seems like a given, but I think you'd be surprised how often that gets overlooked. Why do you think this focus on mutual satisfaction is so crucial for women?
Well, for one thing, it speaks volumes about the level of respect and care within the relationship. It shows that both partners are equally invested in each other's well-being and pleasure, which is essential for building a healthy and fulfilling sexual connection.
It's about creating that shared experience, where both partners feel valued and desired, not just one person's needs being met at the expense of the others.
Exactly. And achieving that often requires good communication, a willingness to try new things, and a genuine desire to please your partner.
Now, the essay also delves into the importance of emotional availability and vulnerability during intimacy, which I think kind of challenges the stereotype of women preferring a more detached or purely physical approach.
Oh, absolutely. While some people might assume that, the reality is that many women crave that deep emotional connection during sex. They want to feel safe, seen, and understood by their partner.
It's about being able to let your guard down and be truly vulnerable with someone you trust.
Exactly. And it requires both partners to be emotionally available, willing to be vulnerable, and open to sharing their feelings and needs.
It takes courage to be that vulnerable.
It really does. Now, the essay also touches on the importance of feeling secure and confident in the relationship. How do you think those factors tie into a fulfilling sexual experience?
Well, I imagine feeling secure and confident allows women to really embrace their sexuality and enjoy intimacy without fear or reservation. It's about knowing that your partner respects your body, your boundaries, and your desires, and feeling safe to explore and express yourself without judgment.
You're spot on. Feeling secure and confident creates that foundation of trust and respect. That's so essential for open communication and exploration.
It's about creating a space where vulnerability is welcomed and celebrated, not punished or dismissed.
Exactly. And that leads us to another crucial point, the importance of reciprocity and variety in the bedroom.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
Well, it basically means that women want their partners to be active participants in the sexual experience.
Mhm.
They want them to be willing to try new things, explore different fantasies, and be open to feedback and suggestions.
It's about that sense of playfulness and exploration.
Exactly. But it's not just about constantly changing things up for the sake of novelty. It's also about being attentive to your partner's preferences, respecting their boundaries, and finding that balance between comfort and excitement.
It's about finding that sweet spot where both partners feel safe and comfortable enough to explore new things together, to keep the spark alive while also honoring each other's needs and desires.
You put it perfectly. And finally, the essay emphasizes the often overlooked importance of aftercare and reassurance.
Now, I have to admit, I'm not entirely sure what that means in this context. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Sure, it simply means that women often appreciate gestures of affection and connection after sex. It's about those lingering cuddles, the whispered words of affirmation, the simple act of holding each other close. These small gestures go a long way in reaffirming the emotional bond and creating a sense of closeness and intimacy.
It's about extending that sense of connection beyond the physical act itself, showing your partner that you care and that you're present in that moment.
Exactly. It's about those little acts of love and affection that solidify the bond and create a lasting sense of intimacy.
This has been so insightful. I feel like we've covered so much ground from foreplay and mutual satisfaction to emotional vulnerability and aftercare. It really paints a holistic picture of what women seek in a fulfilling sexual relationship. But before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What's the most surprising or impactful takeaway for you from all of this?
Honestly, what struck me most was the recurring theme of communication. It seems to be the thread that weaves through every aspect of a fulfilling sexual relationship. From expressing desires and boundaries to navigating fantasies and ensuring mutual satisfaction. Open and honest communication is the foundation upon which everything else is built.
I couldn't agree more. It's about creating that safe and trusting space where both partners feel comfortable expressing themselves fully without fear of judgment or rejection.
Precisely. And that open communication, coupled with respect, empathy, and a genuine desire to understand and meet each other's needs, seems to be the key to unlocking that deep and fulfilling connection that I think we all crave.
It's amazing how much this essay has really opened my eyes to all the different facets of female sexuality. It's so much more than just the physical act. It's about emotions, communication, respect, all of that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Just really got me thinking differently about things.
So to wrap things up, is there anything else from the essay that really stood out to you?
Yeah, actually, there's this one last point I wanted to touch on. It's about the importance of feeling cherished and desired.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, the essay talks about how that feeling isn't just important in a sexual context, but in all aspects of our lives.
It's about feeling seen and appreciated for who you are. I think that's something we all crave deep down.
Absolutely. And when that need is fulfilled, it can have such a positive impact on our lives.
So how can we cultivate that feeling more in our own lives and relationships?
Well, it starts with awareness, paying attention to the little details, expressing appreciation, giving genuine compliments, making an effort to really understand and respond to our loved ones' needs.
It's those little acts of kindness and consideration that really show we care.
Exactly. It's about making the people in our lives feel valued, respected, and cherished.
Sometimes the smallest actions can speak volumes.
Absolutely. A simple text message, a handwritten note, a warm hug can make all the difference.
It's about those little moments of connection that remind us we're loved and appreciated.
Now, while this deep dive is focused on female sexuality, I think these insights about feeling cherished apply to everyone.
It's a universal human need.
It really is.
Well, listeners, that brings us to the end of our exploration of female sexuality. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and maybe a deeper understanding of this complex and beautiful topic. Don't forget to check out the original essay for yourself if you're interested in learning more. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those deep dives going.